You know, I think about this guy all the time. I think about Rich Greenfield going on CNBC, going on about EBITDA, going on about fundamental value, going on about how the stock price is not justified. It makes no sense. These people don't understand what's actually happening here. And then I just come back to stuff like this, and I can only help but chuckle, because you have to wonder every day that AMC continues to do what it does. Every day that AMC continues to trade in the 30s, the 20s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, you just have to wonder to yourself. You just have to wonder how his 1 cent price target is actually freaking doing. So, whatever, man. You do you. What is up, everybody? I'm going to trades. We freaking talk fast and don't skip class. I like to preface by saying that I'm not a financial advisor or expert. So take what I say with some lemon pepper tendies, please, baby. Let's get into the video. So today, my friends, my family, my fellow Gorilla Gang, we're giving you an update on ticker symbol AMC here. And we had a pretty solid day, up 6.89%. And what gets me the most excited isn't necessarily that we were up 7% on the day, but more so the strength of the position in which AMC is currently trading and moving right now. Yesterday's video, I stated that I think you're going to see a nice bounce up off of this two lows, high close sort of candlestick pattern here. And that did end up coming to fruition solely because we had multiple confirmations that was very likely going to happen. You had this big, fat, nasty shooting star hammer candle set up with this bottoming tail, essentially meaning that sellers tried to push the price down and it was rejected, got brought back up. And that's a good thing. And I think you are very likely going to see that fourth test of that $37 level come to fruition because we're still hugging beneath that resistance line. But we're going to go over a couple different things here. We're going to go over the Ortex data, which gives you the short interest, utilization, which we'll kind of walk you through if you're new to this sort of stock and investment. We'll go over the cost of borrow rate, the annualized interest rate, right? We'll also go over the short sale volume percentage. This data has not changed from yesterday's video, but in case you're not able to catch it, I will update you on what that looked like in terms of the actual price action. That way you can understand the microscopic moves, educate yourself along the process, and make the best possible financial decision for yourself if you are interested in investing in or trading AMC stock, yada, yada, yada. You know the whole spiel, whatever you want to do. And then we'll finish it off with a technical analysis and that whole sort of thing. Give you what I'm expecting moving into the next couple of trading days here, because I am still short-term bullish on AMC as well as long-term for the squeeze. But I do think you have found the bottom and some momentum starting to return. We have a couple confirmations of that, and I just want to point them out to you. So without further ado, baby, let's just get into this bad boy. So Ortex, this is a short interest and short reporting sort of website that I use to keep track of the different data that comes in on AMC stock and the way that it trades. You can clearly see that we're sitting at 17.95% current short interest of free float, which is essentially just out of all the shares that are available for the general public, about 500 million or so, 17.95% of those are currently being shorted into the market, or about 91.83 million. We had a net difference of about 1.3% to the downside. And I always like to check the average days on loan because it gives you an idea of who actually covered, quote unquote, the position, this 1.4 million shares. And it was likely some of the newer short positions that are established in the stock, because you did not see that average days on loan change much, right? It's still sitting at 47.52. So maybe you had some of the older ones get out, maybe some of these guys in the 60s, 70s, whatever. But the majority of these guys, the trend is still up in terms of on loan average days. And the short interest trend is also up, meaning that, well, I suppose you could just point out this little piece right here. This little downtick, you had an uptick in terms of average days on loan, meaning that some of the older shorts got out. But nonetheless, you have some of these old guys in the 50s, 60s range. They're still holding their shorts, waiting to see if this $30 test is actually going to be a breakdown or a breakout, in which case we could see some momentum. Right? You could actually see a nice, decent move on this. But the moral of the story is the shorts still haven't covered. And if the shorts haven't covered, you haven't had a fucking short squeeze. It's in the name. It's in the name. Short squeeze, you have to have shorts covered. And they have not got out of this position. Now, the utilization and the cost to borrow are also starting to go up just a small amount. I'm not going to consider this cost to borrow anything significant. Don't get all excited about this, because we've seen it go up before and then go down and then go up and then go down. The real cost to borrow and the real pressure in terms of annualized interest rate, which is what this CTB is, comes when the utilization is maxed out. Currently, it's sitting at 90.19%. You did have a little bit of a downtick, right? It did pull back here a little bit, meaning that cost to borrow or the pressure on short positions has not been extraordinarily high over the last 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. And you can see that in the price action, right? It's okay to say that. It's okay to say that you're not going to wake up one day and all of a sudden the stock is going to randomly squeeze, because it's all a part of the process, right? You have to have build up. There has to be catalysts that lead to any sort of big move in the market. think there's cops out there. Maybe they're busting the people that live above me. That's something else. I won't get into that. But nonetheless, right, it's okay to say that. All that you want to understand is the generalized trend. What are the things that you're looking for in terms of being able to know that AMC is getting the momentum back to get the big next leg up towards the next squeeze sort of situation? You want to see that cost of borrow go up, right? That puts pressure on short positions. It incentivizes them not to want to hold their position. You want to see that utilization maxed out. When that utilization is maxed out, it means there's no shares available for lending from lenders to LND, which means there's not a lot of supply. In that scenario, you can also see naked short selling and failure to delivers have massive spikes, which we have seen in the past. Look at the failure to deliver rates right here, right? The utilization was maxed out here, and it's no coincidence that you had a massive amount of failure to delivers in this time frame as well, which you can think of essentially as a synthetic share, same as you would a naked short share. So that's something to be watching for. That's another piece. So you want the utilization to be maxed out. You want that cost of borrow to go back up. You want that short interest to continue to climb, which will, as you see that utilization continue to do what it has done in the generalized grand scheme of things. So that's what you got cooking in terms of the actual data. We're sitting fine. I mean, this is nothing crazy. It's nothing huge to report. It's not going to be some groundbreaking video, but it is confirmation that you're still walking in the right direction. So the daily short sale volume percentage, we had a pretty massive uptick yesterday. 61% was the overall shorting that went into the market, I should say Friday, which is why you see this hammer candle right here, right? If you look at the hourly candles, you can see that they tried to push the price down pretty heavily immediately at open and rejected with this two lows, high close rejection at $32.20 to get this nice massive reversal and retest of that $37.20-ish cent level of resistance, which we're hugging underneath right now. So pretty massive shorting coming into this. The apes are still freaking hodling this thing with some diamond balls and ovaries, guys. And it's doing pretty decent right now. Is every single person on planet Earth holding this stock? I think this is a question that I see all the time. I think the most important thing is to take a step back and see what you personally can control. What can you do, right? Are you holding the stock? Do you have things that you need to take care of? There are likely some people out there who may exit the position, who are trading it, whatever. But I do think the majority of people, as you can see by the price action, the strength showing itself in this $30 range, are holding this, right? That's an important thing to consider. What can you control, right? What is outside of your control? Can you control what other people do? No. Should you? No, it's their money, right? It's up to them ultimately on what they want to do. But the big thing is this. Where this is trading right now, my friends, is solid. This is range-bound trading. We have been back and forth between $30 and $40 for a month now. I mean, that's solid. This is really nostalgic. This brings me back to essentially where AMC was trading previously. What the heck just happened? Why did it do that? But this is very nostalgic to what happened back here in this range right here, right? You had a long period of time where it's traded back and forth between $5 all the way up to $14 until it ultimately got this huge breakout to $72 freaking dollars. I think this is a pretty solid opportunity to buy with much less risk than you previously had, because I think the most downside that you can see here is $25, in which case maybe you save some dry powder, right? Maybe you sit on some cash and you make that decision for yourself. Honestly, that's your decision to make. It's not mine. These are just my personal opinions and observations on the stock and how it trades. But I think this $30 range, the longer it's traded here, the more bullish of a reversal you are likely to see in the near coming future. I think it's a pretty solid opportunity. I really do. I think the risk as it's been trading here is just exponentially lower. So with that being said, I said this in my previous video and it's almost come completely to fruition. We just haven't quite gotten that $37.20 break yet. But I did say I think you're going to see a nice bullish move on Monday, which did end up coming to fruition. So if you played call options on this, you probably made a little bit of money, right? That's awesome. Cool. That's ultimately a decision to make, whether you want to exercise those, sell those. I'm not here to do that for you. I'm here to tell you that I think you are going to see a pretty nice retest and break over this fourth test trend that has played out repeatedly over and over with AMC stock. I do think you're going to see that 37.20 break, whether it's tomorrow or Wednesday. I think in the short term, this is still bullish. And the reason I think that is because I've seen it happen many times. I've watched the stock for 8 months. I've been able to predict moves that have happened over the last 8 months because there's trend, there's technical pattern, there's an analysis that you can do based on the way that this trades, despite the negative short selling, despite the failure to deliver, despite the gammas squeezing, all this sort of stuff, all the volatility. You can predict that stuff because it's priced in. It happens every single day. It forms a pattern. It forms a trend. And you can see that. And that trend here, I think, is going to play out starting tomorrow, where you get that 37, tomorrow or Wednesday, 37.20 retest and break to ultimately reclaim that $40 plus range. We had a false breakout right here, ran all the way up to freaking $46, pulled back, and now I think you're going to see the real true break out of that position. And another confirmation that we have of that potential move is the daily candle sort of trend right here. We have already broken out of this downtrend right here and are now in range trading. So to make this the most simple as possible, right? What am I essentially looking at? If you look at this downtrend, what ended up happening? Well, we broke it. And now that we have broken that downtrend, you essentially have range trading out of this downtrend. So you can see that there's a support line right here, and there's a resistance line right here, about $39.12, excluding extended hours trading, right? So this is essentially new territory. This range trading is trying to decide, okay, now that we're out of a downtrend, we're just in a sideways trend. Which direction do we go? You can essentially consider this a clean slate out of this massive downtrend that we had play out here previously in the past. And if you get that break over $39, it has the potential in the grand scheme macroscopic trend over weeks and weeks and weeks to build momentum. The same way that we saw back here, the same way that we saw back here, right? It could be very similar to that. So that's what I'm watching for, my friends. And that's what I've got for this freaking video. So yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. Don't spill, drop like zero, friends. Catch you on the next one. Light taps always, baby. You know what it is. Much love and peace.